Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to episode 97 of the Titanforge
Yo, yo,
podcast.
yo.
Yo. I'm Dranos, joined by Tuttle. Oh my goodness, I've swapped here. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna do some surgery on the scene here.
Huh, it looks
Whoop,
like our names have been changed, Shatnos?
whoop.
Or
Okay, there we go. I don't know how I didn't
Classic.
catch this. Joined by Tuttles.
yo, what's up?
Yo, and Trell.
Hello there. How are you?
The bad news is I'm pretty sure as soon as we go to like a website soon, I'm gonna have
I
to do
was
this
about
as
to
well.
say.
Yeah.
Let's pull up the other overlay to see how it looks.
Well, that will spoil one of the things we're going to talk about. So in due time, we'll get
Okay.
there.
Okay, see.
So we'll be back on Saturday again next week,
Mm-hmm.
which will be Saturday of Heroic Week. And then the week after that, I guess we probably won't.
I mean, I guess there's a way that we would,
But
but
I think this is probably that's probably when we will be off for the week or something, right?
if the race to world first is over, maybe.
Yes.
But, like,
Okay. Yeah. So next week's show will be the last one until the Race to World First is over. But stay tuned on Twitter and stuff if you're trying to catch the show live, and we'll try and let you know a day in advance there before we make any decisions about when the next one will be. And then after that, we're potentially going to go to this Thursday schedule thing. So stay tuned for that and other exciting announcements that we have lined up. So it should be an exciting month. I'm very much looking forward to this Race to World First. Of course, a couple days ago it was announced that Tettles and myself will be casting the Limit one again this time around. So we'll all be in town for a while again as well. Maybe we can do
In
another
my
meetup.
town.
Yeah.
dude,
Auger.
can we talk about how much of a scam it was that you were featured on the announcement list
Yeah.
and I wasn't?
Dude.
I saw that and I was like, what?
There's like including we've got such great casters including, and then they basically listed every caster except for Tettles. God, it was so
And
good.
more.
no.
And then it said and more. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay.
I would have done the same thing if I was writing the announcement, but the fact that it was just some random person that did that to you makes it so much better.
I think it's like, I mean, I don't really care. If I had a bigger ego, maybe I'd be more upset. I just thought it was really funny that they're like, and more. I was like, what the fuck?
Well, there's just not enough space here to list out the other caster that we haven't listed here, so we'll just say and more instead.
Oh well.
Yeah. Get owned. Speaking of getting owned, one thing that a lot of players from top guilds are hoping to own in the near future are items with domination sockets on them. What do you guys think about the prospects of guilds running like even more degenerate splits than usual of like normal to pick
Dude.
up their enough sockets here? For instance, a lot of guilds have been tweeting out stuff like this. This is the method tweet here about if you join one of their normal domination splits, even if you don't trade anything, you get a Sylvanas AOTC for freezies.
Yeah, I
Ugh,
mean,
hate
I
those.
mean, it's not surprising. Like, we've seen, like, basically since personal loot got implemented, guilds doing this thing where they are just, instead of having like people from their own guild running these splits with a bunch of different characters, they're doing this thing where they get people from their community to come and help fill out their stuff. Normally, it's just for heroic. It's almost never bled into normal until now. But with how domination sockets fare, normal's going to be more advantageous to run for weeks. Like, I suspect that my guild's going to end up running normal for like probably 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And we normally only run it the first week.
Well, it should be easy enough as well that they should be able to, like, depending on how many people sign up for this, guilds can split up into like multiple simultaneous runs of like 2 raiders and 28 helpers or whatever, and then basically guarantee all of those trades potentially. If they, the problem with doing splits of that level of dilution normally is that you just don't have enough time in the week to get them all done. But if you have helpers, you could run them concurrently maybe and get it done. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see for sure whether this ends up being worth.
I suspect
I'm hoping-
every World First guild will have a pay-to-play thing kind of like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also hoping that all the normal mid-range, like upper tier guilds that like Might and Nascent are, me and Tuttles, I think we should only have to run normal like 1 or 2 weeks, because I think the Death's Advance vendor can give you some Dom slots. It's like lower item level,
One
of course,
piece.
but
One
at least you can,
220, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the
At least you can
Archivist
fill in one
Codex.
slot.
Archivist Codex rep also offers you one, but it's 239.
You're not getting that shit during Prague. Let's be real,
Dude. You can get tier 6 by the end of week 2 of Mythic. It's doable. We've mapped it out.
Okay, you said you can, not referring to any of the three of us.
No, I mean like by just like hanging out in Korthia for a couple hours each day, and if you miss some of it, then week 3 Mythic. That's still in Prague for most people. If you miss more, week 4 Mythic. Okay, that's still in Prague
fair
for.
enough. I mean,
the less hard you're going, the
Yeah.
longer your Prague probably is.
Yeah, I mean, okay, but the Death's Advance one being at like
220.
honored or whatever. Yeah, it's honored for 220 piece. Like that's the one that.
Well,
Okay.
The problem with the Codex one is it's the same slot as the Death's Advance one anyway, so it's not like it gives you an extra slot relative to that either.
Yeah, it does suck.
Yeah, so you're going to need to hop into the raid and find those other 4 slots at least. Which, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be one of those spots where there's gonna be that stark difference between Race to World First guilds and other guilds, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Running splits is gonna be really good
Yeah.
this tier. I'm kind of regretting that we're only doing like 2. Kind of thinking like if we could find a way to do a 3rd, that would be so much more Sakis. But I don't know.
Oh, I don't think I'll ever say I wish I could do a 3rd split Dreadnought.
Splits are so fun and cool. I hate
Splits are the worst. Like actually,
they do
are
suck.
so unfun.
But then when there's a tier where there's something like this, and it's just like you can see all the limit guys at 239 5 sockets week 1. You're like, man, I wish that was me.
Well, splits. Okay,
Sure.
splits are unfun because you have rodent characters that people are just bad at, and you're like literal like burden characters, and there's I don't know 5 of them or some shit, right? They're just
Yeah.
being carried because the disparity between like people who are like really good at their alts and like people who are like, okay, I'm a high-end mythic raider, but on this one character, and I'm fucking awful at my alt, but I'm just doing it because of the guild. You get some rats. Those
Yeah.
rats.
Yeah, the farther into splits you get, it's like by the time you're on the 3rd or 4th split, someone's 4th character is just so bad and they have no idea what they're doing, and it's just awful.
Yeah.
Unless you're like Limit or Echo.
Like, I mean, like even Dradnus' 4th character. I mean, Dradnus' 4th character is pretty good. But if I had to play, I could play 3 characters at an OK level. If you get me to a 4th, I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do? I had to level a 4th character at this point.
Yeah, I'd say I'm about there too.
It actually goes, I think, all the way up to the top guilds. Really, the difference between like people on their mains and people on their alts gets pretty wide. It depends on the person. But that stays all the way. I think all the way up to the very top. Like I think there's in every guild. Obviously the higher ones have more multi-classers than the lower ones, but there are still a lot of people in those top guilds that like are really good at one thing, and the other things like they can get by on, but it's because they're geared, and at this point they are geared on them, but like they're potatoes for a while.
And they're good mechanically, so they're not going to ruin you. But at the same time, it's like their damage is they may as well be a buyer.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's always interesting to me how multi-classing brings that out in different people. Anyways, domination sockets. I don't know. They nerfed them. They hit him with the set of nerfs a couple days ago. I don't know if you saw this. They nerfed the rank 1 good ones by like 30%, but they only nerfed the rank 5 versions by like a small amount, like 5% or whatever.
They also didn't nerf the sets, right?
They didn't nerf the
Chaos
set
Bane
bonuses.
and shit.
Yeah. So my understanding of the meta is still going to be pretty much everybody will be on triple unholy. But the way that they've nerfed this, it's now a steeper power gain over time as you go from rank 1 to rank 5. So that'll be interesting, I guess. Don't really have an opinion.
I don't know. I'm kind of waiting
fine.
to see like how they scale, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think the systems have the system is bad inside of implementation. No amount of tuning one way or the other makes the system better. It's all about the that is poor.
Yeah, I saw your video about it, Tettles. The we need to talk about domination sockets one.
Dude, the system actually just tilts me so hard because it's unbelievably bad. Like
It
just
does
because
kind of make you wonder who it's for, right?
I think it's to like promote rating, but at the same time, and maybe they're looking at it as like the developers have to be looking at it in a lens of like, oh, this is very similar to tier sets. I bet players would like this. And then it's just like, I see it and I'm like, okay, so they're like giving us the bad parts of tier sets, because tier sets for all intents and purposes aren't 100% good either. They're just fun because of the upsides. We just got all the bad sides of the tier sets without any of the good sides. And you're like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like they started from the tier set position of like, okay, we want to bring this back, but we're not fully ready to commit, and then they just kind of like did a half-ass job, in my opinion, of it. And like we talked about before the podcast, it takes up so many slots of gear now relating to the Great Vault.
5 of 5.
Yeah, so
Literally
you have your 5
of
Dom
5.
socket slots and your legendary slot, right? So now 6 of our 14 slots are pretty well spoken for.
Yep.
Yeah. That does. I mean, it is rough. I think it's there's some ways that it is a shame. I do like that it nerfs the raid over time as you upgrade to ranks 5, but I don't know if that's a big enough impact to like actually make fights go from hard to medium to easy or whatever in the way that, you know, Hellscream's Warsong did back in ICC.
Did well, I mean, Laser Matrix and
Yeah, Laser Matrix and stuff did, or Corruption Resistance on the Cloak,
Yeah,
right? That
true.
was a system that did the same thing. Where
I don't mind those systems. I think the
Yeah.
systems by themselves are actually really good. Like I do think that the passive like slow nerfing of the raid instance week in and week out, like by that, I think that that's actually a really good system. I think that this is missing the mark for what we're looking for.
I'm with you. I think this system is I don't know. It lacks that kind of like inspiration, you know. Like
Well, where's the
that's
fun?
exciting about it? Yeah.
They're all passive damage effects that don't like scale with your class. Like I think that they're. I don't think that they're like super far away from like an okay system. I think that this system is just like not it.
Yeah, even stuff like Twilight Dev, you know, shot it like that. You had to aim that thing, and it noticed it when it procced, and it like did something cool. Like Twilight Dev is something people miss, and
I mean that shit scale with haste too. Like,
right.
It's scale with class haste, and if you were playing like a fucking demon hunter or something like that, and you were in your meta, you're in your Furious Gaze window, you notice that you got like you're just blasting off with some of these corruption effects. You're
There's
like, okay,
basically no way to scale any of these shards differently from one class to another, right? It's like this one gives you 3% damage. This one gives you 4% damage when you damage something new. This one gives you 3% damage when you have more health on the target. It's like, okay, you know.
This one heals you for 0.4% of your maximum health every 10 seconds.
Yeah, none of those, do anything. They're just it shows up in your details and you don't notice it. It doesn't change how you play at all.
But it's a significant enough damage gain that you do care is the problem.
Right.
Like you very much care about them because the damage is like okay, so even after the nerfs,
something across all of them.
It used to be 7. It got nerfed. It's probably still like north of 5, which is like
it's still close for
amount.
Once you get to rank 5s. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
The early first few weeks is going to be like 3 or 4% instead of 4 or 5, but still.
So silly.
Yeah. All right.
Well, would you rather, in your opinion, before we move on, would you rather have everything be like a damage proc or something that is like a 4 or 5 proc per minute type of deal, or flat percentage things? Because I feel like they have listened to the community in this aspect. Not that I agree with it, but I think they've listened and been like, oh, people don't like all the borrowed power. Let's just make them all flat percentage bonuses instead.
You want to feel that first?
Well, I don't know. I mean, a flat percentage thing you get to keep for one tier is borrowed power just as much as like some proc that you get to keep for one tier. I do think though that like you had the buff bar expand to like 20 random haste procs or whatever in BFA and Legion. And I understand not wanting it to be like that. Also, I don't know. I think there should be less things that are more impactful, like less looking at systems like soulbinds, conduits, shards of domination. If you look at most of those, they're not exciting. There's like a couple of exciting conduits.
The Covenant is actually lit.
Yeah, the Covenant ability is I would say in some cases it's pretty good. In other cases it's kind of similar to Major Essences, where it's just like, I am at a 2-minute cooldown that you press me every 2 minutes and I do a lot of damage. And those, I mean, aren't that exciting to me. But some of them, like Primordial Wave, for instance, for Ellie Shaman, that one's sweet. Condemn for warriors, that I think those kind of
Convoke.
Convoke is that in that space of like, I'm a 2-minute cooldown, but it's so cool that it's like actually cool. But like if you look at like Wild Spirits or Resonating Arrow or whatever, it's just like, oh, there's
but at least
do damn.
At least I feel like they hit the mark with the Covenants in terms of design, where at least the design that I look for, because like the things that I look for in design, it's like I look for things that impact the class like directly, first and foremost, like resource generation, cooldown on ability specific stuff, cooldown on your CDs, that kind of stuff. That's my top preferred thing. Then below that is like stat bonuses that impact me in some different way, like haste bonuses and shit like that, or crit bonuses or some stuff like that. That's the second one because it also interacts with my class in a different way. Procs and damage events and shit like that is all like in this bucket of I hate. Like I don't like
What do you
procs.
think about procs like the like seductive power or the new Pelagos trait where it's like, hey, when this procs, you need to go and like look at something,
Do a thing,
do an action. Yeah.
I'm a little
like
bit
those.
okay. I think they're better. I do certainly think that they're better than completely passive damage procs because you were interacting with Pelagos orbs and shit like that. At the same time, I would prefer other things, but like if you're not willing to budge and you're willing to give me that over just shitty procs, then yeah, I'll take it.
I don't know. I kind of find some of those. I like. It's weird because like in general I like things that are more interesting, but I don't like when I just have to like be playing all these mini games. I think that.
Do you remember Engine?
But
do you remember Engine of Eradication?
Yeah, where it's like the four
cool.
orbs show up or whatever that you pick up. I think like
I thought that show was bad.
I think yeah.
I liked that one personally.
One of those at a time I'm fine with on a build, but when there's like I wouldn't like having to play a character that had those and seductive power at the same time to be tracking.
Yeah, I really love running away from my thing from beyond. Recently I got corruption slowed in mechanic and died.
Yeah. Corruption was an interesting one, but I think the corruption drawbacks are actually pretty, like they.
Oh, they're okay. Yeah.
I quite liked them because you had control over which ones you got. Obviously, sometimes you died to them, but like, I don't know, they were funny.
They were funny. I didn't hate corrupt. I thought corruption was like okay. I think that Shards of Domination is like the lowest tier because it's high enough impact to where you care, but low enough impact to where you don't fucking care, but it still sucks.
I mean, it just gives you number. Yeah, it literally doesn't affect any classes differently except for pet classes who it doesn't work for.
That's the best part.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that makes so much sense.
It's like your damage is increased by 3%, and your fellow guard's looking at you like, bro, where's that damage?
Give me that buff. Hello?
What? One drop of damage, please.
Yeah. Always funny. It's always funny to me how much BM or demo is like screwed or not screwed based on whether the current tier's stuff affects pets.
Yeah, I'm so glad I don't main a pet class normally. Like every start of a patch, you go into an encounter and your pet just dies because they haven't coded all the AoE to not hit your pet yet until like a couple weeks in, or sometimes they just never code it, like in some dungeons.
Or TBC Classic, pets just taking full damage from AoE and everything. Yeah. All right.
Oh man.
So this week we'll talk more about Korthia 9.1 stuff, Torghast and things. But first, we get to do our tip of the week segment. My tip of the week is the rare consumption. You may see some things in chat or angry things in /yell, for instance, and you may be a little bit confused as to how this mob works. So I will now explain it to you. Consumption originally spawns as a non-elite elemental inside a cave in Korthia. Doesn't show up on your map or anything, and it starts eating things as long as it's out of combat. Once it gets to 40 stacks of that, it turns into a bigger blue elemental that comes outside and is now rare and shows up on people's maps. It will continue eating things for as long as it's out of combat, and if it gets to 40 stacks again, it turns into a big green elemental. That gives better loot than the blue elemental. And it's rare elite at that point, at which point it's ready to kill. It will keep eating stuff and gaining stacks again, but you don't need to let it do that once it's big and green and rare elite. Then it is ready to be killed for maximum rewards. And you will find, on some servers, you may find people just killing it as soon as it becomes a rare and shows up on people's maps. On other servers, you may find people trying to get it to 40 stacks, so that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to have people not pull it and get to 40 stacks so that it turns big and green. If you're trying to do that, you can reset it by taunting it and running away, and then it will go back and drop combat. But if somebody is hell-bent on not not playing along and just killing it for less rewards while it's still small and blue and not big and green. I don't know, you can keep resetting it for 5 minutes. I've done that before, and eventually they get the message, but you still do get something. You still do get some stuff if you kill it while it's small and blue, just less rep and stuff.
This is truly a social experiment for World of Warcraft players.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
yeah.
When they coded it, do you think they were like, should we make this immune until it turns green?
Nah.
Let's see what they do.
Well, if it just like kept gaining stats while it was in combat, you could just like reset it twice and it would always, you know, then have fully stacked up or whatever. But yeah, it just doesn't do that, so it's crazy. All right, Charles, what is your tip of the week?
All right, so everyone knows about the Shadowlands wormhole toy, hopefully, because it's really, really nice to have. If you're Shadowlands engineering at all you have to be is level 1 on any of your characters. You can use this toy and port to any zone in the expansion. And they added Korthia to it day 1. So like as soon as you log in and you get the Korthia flight point or you get there for the first time, you can then port to that with this toy whenever you want. And it's basically just a second Hearthstone for all the new content. You can set your Hearth there as well and have 2 Hearthstones. You can use it while you're in the Rift world doing the daily rifts. So you can just like travel there very, very easily this patch. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's you just buy it from the auction house and use. So all you have to do is literally pick up Shadowlands Engineering, buy this thing from the auction house, and then it's a toy on your account, and all of your characters with Shadowlands Engineering can use it. You don't have to do any more stuff. It is very good. I would recommend all characters have engineering this expansion. Just to use this thing. All right, Tettles, what is your clip of the week?
Yes, we have a. Okay, so for those who don't know, there's a tome trinket that drops from some of the reputation from the Death's Advance vendor that you can get. It's like the BOA tokens. The trinket, very overpowered and very overtuned for all Intwares. Although according to I'm Fired Up, it's getting nerfed.
Oh, it's getting nerfed. Good. All right, do I just immediately stop right now?
Yeah.
All right, I think I do.
Yeah.
Do you think that trinkets like this are okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically the clip is him saying it's getting nerfed, you know. We've talked to a dev or whatever, it's getting nerfed. Now, there's a chance that still won't happen, but it is a pretty overtuned trinket. Yeah, it gives you like it gives you like twice as much stat as a stat stick of that item level should, because it's like 2 procs per minute, you know, 15 seconds or whatever, 20-second proc length. So this thing has just like 60% uptime on 270 crit or something. Dude, the Wowhead tweet response, by the way, when they made their article, blow my. There's some that's like, well, I don't get why this thing is good. It's just a crit trinket. And other replies, they're like, I mean, I guess this is good if your class likes crit, but otherwise, you know, probably middle of the pack at best. Just people not understanding that like a trinket that just gives you like 200 average crit is gonna be better than the average like 70 mastery, but I like mastery more.
At 233, it's better than all 252 trinkets for balanced druids, and I suspect that's very similar for all ranged classes. It's really fucking stupid. That trinket is very good. Do you think that trinkets like this are okay? Or items like this? Okay, so it is only 1 slot. We've seen stuff like this in the past with Benthic, but this is only 1 slot, but it is BIS through the whole entire Mythic raid, regardless of what else you have. Do you think this is okay?
Not in its current form. I mean, if it was tuned to be like an average middle of the pack trinket at relevant eye level, I think it'd be perfect.
Yeah, so other comparisons would be like Frond, Bell, from this tier.
Bell
right?
is still my best trinket, yeah.
Yeah. In last expansion, there was like the Dark Moon deck. The Caster Dark Moon deck was good in Nihilotha. That was
Storms,
good for a while.
Arcano Crystal.
Arcana Crystal.
From Legion, the dinosaur.
Sword, any
trinket.
Devil Sword Shock Batoners. Yeah. Try and Titanforge that bad boy. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's like, I think that having some weird ass trinket be pretty good is fine. If it's like oppressively good, I think it's less fine. But like the thing about like Frond and Bell is that there are a couple of classes that like them, right? Like Bell is basically a Moonkin thing. Frond is like what, a hunter thing or something?
Yeah, because they get an extra aim shot in their volley window or some shit.
Yeah, some dumb thing, hunter thing. It's not. You don't need to know hunter things, by the way. If you're listening to that and you're like, oh, I should look up how hunters work. You don't. This tier is irrelevant. You can
check that next patch.
Yeah.
9.2 maybe hunters make a resurgence. 9.1 ain't it.
It's useful for trivia, actually, if you ever have like a trivia night.
Guild trivia. Oh, obscure guild trivia night. Actually,
Yeah, just hunter mechanics. But yeah, I mean, this is it's too much stat. I don't know. Like, okay, compare this thing to Bell or whatever, right? I guess Bell gives, how much mastery does Bell give you at a high item level?
500.
Yeah, 500
500.
something.
This thing gives you almost 300 crit at 207 with uptime of like 65%. Bell's uptime is what, like 10% or something, right?
Yeah, minute
Yeah.
CD.
So I mean, this is just a large amount of stat. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. You could see this thing. Basically, if this thing said plus 65 intellect, plus 200 crit, that would basically be what this thing said.
Okay.
Which is like, holy moly.
Apparently, Bell is 668. The two best trinkets for Moonkin are Bell and IQD going into this patch. Like through the whole entire Mythic raid, it's that tome trinket from the island is not even better than a 203 Bell. Just like, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think that trinkets are something they should reconsider how they work, because these last couple expansions we've had some specs that just run the same trinket all expansion, because it's from like M+, and in this case the Bell one is a world quest reward, and those those levels scale up. But I don't know. I think it would be good if they had more seasonality, especially in the trinket spot. I think making trinkets from M+, like based on the seasonal affix and then changing based on that would be a cool way to keep things going fresh.
Funnily enough, I think one of the biggest things that I don't like about trinkets now, like I didn't mind trinkets in Legion, but then they changed the RPPM shit, and then like I thought that trinkets were way less enjoyable, because in Legion they had some trinkets that were this 0.0 or there was 0.7 RPPM shit, but the bad luck protection for the trinkets was a little bit different with how it stacked up. So like when you were in open world or dungeons, it was always effectively you were in combat, and the moment you touched a mob, you would instantly proc your trinket. And then like you also had fights like Kill Jaden and shit, where he's flying around the platform for a long period of time.
Yeah, then
and so whenever he would jump back down, you would immediately proc Whispers, or you would immediately proc whatever, and you would just be in your damage window because of that big ass trinket proc that was a very low RPPM. I thought it was kind of cool. At the same time, 0.7 RPPM was also very low, but those trinkets did a fuck ton of things. Like the Eye of Ashara one gave just infinite mastery, and then obviously Whispers was 0.7 as well.
I actually really like that bad luck protection system on trinkets and other procs like that. Like there was the main stat proc in Legion that did the same thing. Like as soon as you got in combat,
Concordance of the Legion fall.
Concordance, yeah.
Whereas like the first person to hit the boss always got concordance as well. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah. Read, like,
is that why I always got concordance?
Freaking Moonkin pulling the boss early. Yeah, like people would like hit trash in the raid for a little bit to stack up their concordance and then stop, make sure they didn't proc it, and then hit the boss for the parse, once they pulled. But I think stuff like that is cool, because when you go into dungeon scenarios, you can really stack more powerful windows at the start of pulls, and you can do cooler things. Like I've always appreciated that kind of thing.
Their changing of how BLP works on trinkets was a little bit weird. I mean, it's more normalized now, right? Like you don't get a proc on pull. It's not like I feel like they're just not that wide of swings anymore. But at the same time, now trinkets are just
you just forget about them, right? You just put them on, and
they're
it's
all
like, they're
all kind of shitty. Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, I think the raid trinkets as well this tier, a lot of them are pretty boring. I don't know. It's tough. I think that they're walking a fine line where, like, if the raid trinkets are too good, everybody complains. If they're too bad, everybody complains. If they're in the middle, they're still boring. I actually don't know what power level would cause people to be happy about them, but
I guess I prefer strong trinkets just as a whole. Like, but at the same time, PvPers fucking hate strong trinkets, right? And they just whine the whole entire time anytime a trinket is good.
True.
Yeah. To make something that everyone in all three branches of content enjoys.
Yeah, it is tough. I don't know. I mean, I think they could just like blanket nerf raid trinkets in PvP or whatever, just as a default thing. Like
they already do. They're still fucking broken.
Yeah, like I mean, just crank that number up until they are actually free to start making them good again. Because right now I'm going into this tier and I have no plans to put on any Sanctum trinkets on my character. I'm just gonna run a Castle Nathria trinket and a D other side trinket. keep it going.
As a tank, yeah.
There's one strength trinket that's cracked, and then like basically all the other sanctum trinkets are like decent to bad. The oh gosh, what's that eyeball trinket? Ocular gland. Ah, yes, ocular gland is not bad, but it's also treacherous covenant-esque in like the how you gain.
It gives you what, like
Yeah,
100 something stats when you're above 50% health, and then you lose 100 stats when you're below 100 or below 50% health. Yeah, it's like a Tome of Insight, but much less stats and conditional.
Good call.
Yeah.
True.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about Korthia. Korthia rep. Fun Korthia rep.
Pog.
Which, if you only played the first couple
yes.
days, if you haven't heard, they have hotfixed some of the Korthia stuff. So treasures are now no longer just despawning in front of you to quite the same extent they used to. Very nice. And you can loot them in combat. So, the memes of the first couple days about them not being lootable in combat, despawning in front of you, are a lot better now. The treasures are pretty nice. They're pretty reasonable at this point.
It was pretty egregious before.
Yeah.
How bad it was. It was one of those things where you're just like, how did this go live? Why I'm like, okay, why is it despawning after 10 seconds? And why can't I loot it in combat?
I think it's just the kind of thing where, like, they didn't test the zone with, like, 500 people in it, right? That's got to be what happened, right? Like, on PTR or whatever, there were, like, 10 people running around testing out Korthia on any shard or whatever.
They're like, this is fine.
GHD is like 9 of those people on
Yeah,
PTR, probably.
because, like, it's probably fine the old way was probably fine in an empty shard, but in a crowded one, man, it was frustrating. So this makes the Archivist Codex rep grind a little bit less painful. The Archivist Codex rep grind is an interesting one as well, because so much of it comes from those one-time turn-ins. And relics, then after that, it is a pretty slow slog of, there's dailies that sometimes give Codex rep and sometimes don't. And then there's just killing rares and, like, opening treasure chests and going into the Rift and doing a Rift run as things you can do every day as well. But, like, it's a pretty slow grind after all the one-time turn-ins are gone.
I think, for what it's worth, though, I actually don't mind the Archivist Codex rep and, like, the Korthian Island. I don't mind, like, the rifts. I really don't hate the zone itself. I think the grind is a bit slow for my taste, but it's, like, because, like, when are you going to get sockets and when are you going to get conduits? And the shit that we're working for are, like, sockets and conduits, so, like, it's pretty lame.
To me, it depends on, like, how does Adamant Vaults work? If you can get sockets and conduits just from, like, doing Adamant Vaults runs starting next week.
In Torghast.
Yeah, in Torghast, then that will be something that makes this a whole lot less of a pain for me. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, just be doing this every day for the next couple weeks.
I think the biggest...
I really hope that. Because I don't have time to, like, circle Korthia for hours every day, I'm on a pretty busy schedule normally, and I log in and get my dailies done and kill a few rares, and that's usually it for me. So if I can do it in the Adamant Vaults, that'll be it.
Okay, so funny thing is like, okay, whenever we think about the Maw in last patch, I would say that Korthia is, like, strictly better than, like, Stygia farming in the Maw. But one of the things that was a little bit better about, like, the Maw and the stuff last patch is once you got the difference between somebody who got Eye of the Jailer 5 and then immediately left the Maw versus somebody who was, like, fucking min-maxing the shit out of the Maw was very little. Like, you would have, like, I don't know, you'd probably be, like, 3 days behind rep at the most.
The main way you'd min-max was by doing the more efficient rares that gave you, like, 80 or 100 rep for your 300 eye instead of 40 rep for your 300 eye, which a couple people were doing that and got it, like, a week early.
Yeah. But you see that a week earlier or, like, a couple days early.
Yeah.
The difference between spending 1 hour farming Archivist Codex rep versus spending fucking just 8 hours a day, like
it's
on
not
Archivist
that big.
Codex rep.
It's not, because there's these systems. So once you've looted, like, your first couple treasure chests you loot each day have blue or epic items in them, and then after that they're, like, 20 rep treasure chests, and then after that they're, like, 10 rep treasure chests, and then pretty quickly after that they don't contain any rep for the rest of the day. And similarly, there's only a couple of rares you can get, like, The only reason you want to stick around is because the actual rares, like the teleporter, you want to do both teleporters every day on your main or whatever, and stick around and like clear all the rares out or whatever. But it's not like there's pretty heavy diminishing returns for staying in there much longer than a swoop or two.
It feels like there certainly is a lot. I know that your guild is waiting for Darkmoon Fair to do all their relic turn-ins and shit, but like the difference between the people who are, I mean, even me, like I'm playing like a decent amount, and I'm still just like 4,000 rep behind the top people, and it's just like, what the fuck?
I mean,
same.
how much later did you get sockets than THD last patch?
Oh, a very long time, but
Yeah, right.
that was based off of something. That was based off me not trying, not necessarily like. Okay, I would say that there are like a decent number of people in both of our guilds or all three of our guilds that are fairly normal with like what they're doing, and they got sockets pretty close to when THD did, right? They maybe got sockets a week after THD.
I did actually like how the mob basically had like a, you go there, you fill up your eye, you're done. I did kind of like that, yeah.
It's not about the Eye of the Jailer. I thought the Eye of the Jailer was like pretty fucking annoying, but at the same time, I think it's more about like the disparity between like the absolute like full optimization of the Archivist Codex rep versus not.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they need to put more rep into the dailies, TBH. Just pump those dailies up and
Twice as much rep.
I don't know. Yeah, make it so like only 2 rares you loot each day give you rep or whatever, and then it just stops after that.
It just sucks because what you're working towards is fucking soul binds and conduits and codexes, and you're like,
it's sockets and conduits,
sockets, conduits, and renown. But like that's all you're doing with the whole entire thing. So it feels bad because of that very specifically. So like if they bumped up the fucking rep, it would probably be like, all right, this is like infinitely faster grind. I don't really care anymore.
It does sort of remind me of what I was just talking about trinkets, though, where it's like, oh, we are grinding for the same thing we earned last patch, but now we are doing it to be able to socket and get conduits 26 item levels higher. But it's like you're not actually getting something new. It's just the same thing as last patch, but higher item level that you're grinding for.
I don't mind the regrind. I think it's like okay. I just think that I don't think that we needed a new system. I don't think they needed to like reintroduce essences or benthic or any of that shit where we had to like completely regrind some new shit, corruption or whatever. But I do think that this is a very long grind for not much gain.
All right. Yeah. So then, Death's Advance rep is the other new rep that's out now. That one drops from a lot less sources. That one's basically just the dailies, and it's a much less important rep as well. It doesn't really do anything. There's like cosmetic stuff for Revered and Exalted. The main nice things is that Friendly, you can buy the Bind on Account token if you're trying to gear up an alt or hunt for that tome before it gets nerfed or whatever. There's another thing you can buy at Friendly that's like a blue item that lets you find anima vessels in the Maw, which is more treasures up in the old Maw that give Archivist Codex rep. So buying and using that ones to make your character able to see those, and then doing some swoops around the old Maw looking for those anima vessels, both in and out of the Rift, separate sets as well. Very cool. If you're trying to min-max your Codex rep, is something you can do. But other than that, Death's Advance rep is just honored for the Domination Socket 220 and the Domination Socket Remover. So not too bad.
I sent a bunch of those eye level 200 bind on account items to my hunter. He's currently sitting at 160, rising quickly though. Maybe when 9.2 comes around and hunter is playable again, I'll be ready for it.
I think if you're looking for stuff to do daily, I think making sure that you get your Death's Advance dailies done like the first thing. That should be the first thing you do because you're going to be able to get that Domination Socket piece like really quick. And then if you have any extra time to like slam an Archivist Codex rep, then do that. But like,
yeah, really, just doing a daily swoop and killing the rares and opening the treasures you see along the way, and then like doing a rift whenever you get a rift key is probably enough. Group rifts are fun though. Group rifts are the sauce.
You guys are doing group rift at 6 p.m. again, right?
We have TBC Classic raid at 6 p.m. So I don't know what we're doing today.
Okay. Well, Corey said you guys were doing a rift at 6 p.m. And
maybe we can use it to cancel TBC Classic. I'm trying to get out of TBC Classic raid, but I'm a tank and I've gotten a lot of gear, so I get guilted whenever I try to ditch classic.
I was doing the rift with Dratnos' guild yesterday because I need an adult for my rifts because I don't really know what the fuck I'm doing.
Luckily, I made a new video today explaining all the stuff about the rift, so you go check it out. The
I'm not
Artemis
watching your
Codex
video.
Rep guide.
I'm just following Dratno Moose around.
The
Yeah,
greatest
every guild
looking
needs
vid.
that every guild needs that group of players like core that just knows where everything is in the new patch. I've got that in my guild, luckily too. They just walk me through it every night. It's great.
Yeah, definitely.
I have that in my guild, except right now I'm using Dratnos' guild.
So yeah, I don't know. That's what's going on with Korthia. The old Maw, of course, now has those vessels in it too, and some of the Rift stuff is up in there too. It's also got the sweet Tormentors of Torghast event every 2 hours on the hour.
That you also made a YouTube video guide
Yeah,
about.
it's every 2 hours on the hour, Pacific time or Central time, and it's odd
Central
numbered
time.
hours on the hour Eastern time and Euro time. So
I didn't know about this until
what Euro time? Wait a second.
the one that's 9 hours different than Pacific time. They like all use the same one.
Okay, so CEST or Central
know,
European
man.
time. Yes. Well,
Yeah,
okay.
CEST.
They also had that. They have that bad British time that some countries use.
That's not Europe anymore. They had a whole bunch of
Shit. What about Ireland?
only half that's Europe.
Okay.
But yeah, you need
That's a
to
good
log
one.
on and be in the mall basically at the top of the hour and in the correct time zone. Because the event is likely dead within 10 minutes. So the first few days I kept checking at my random times in the mall. I was like, where even are these tormentors? But eventually someone told me like go at the top of the hour. So
Yeah, you
keep
get
that
like
in mind. Do that once a week on your characters and you should be golden.
Yeah, once per character per week is all you need to worry about it for. Extra
I gotta do
refills
my
would just give you
bi-weekly-
Soul Ash. Yeah, and then
I
there's
gotta do my bi-weekly Covenant Assault. Wait a second.
the Covenant Assaults are out as well in the Maw. We've finished the Night Fae Assault. They've achieved victory for now. Although I suspect that it's not the last we will see of the evil forces of the Maw in that area. Maybe check back next week and things will have gotten bad again. But now it's the Venthir's turn to be attacking the Tremaculum, which is so cool.
How do you guys like these assaults so far?
It's fine.
I mean,
honestly.
somehow the Venthir one has 3 different vehicles you have to use, and then like 7 different loading screens you have to go through at the end as well. Which is, I don't know.
True.
The bombing run is pretty fun.
Let's
though.
put 8 loading screens at the last boss. Yeah.
Yeah. The although you can cut back. Okay, if you go right to left in a circle, you can glider from the second mirror spot to the third mirror spot without actually having to go back to the
Oh
Maw.
my!
So
Big brain.
big tip there.
I honestly don't even know what you're referring to because I haven't seen it yet. But okay, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, well, now you know. When you get to the mirror part, Tettles, go right to left, and from the second one, you can glider to the third one without having to do another loading screen.
Excellent. Thank you for your help.
Happy to help.
So 2 loading screens. That's big.
Yeah, it's speedrun tech.
Shit.
The bombing run is cool though. It's like a really fast-paced bombing run that you can get done in like 10 seconds, and you have 3 buttons that all do a lot of damage and stuff.
Yeah, that one's good.
I think it's weird that
Yeah.
the Venthir Assault doesn't do anything different if I'm a Venthir or not. I don't know. It seems like these are the perfect opportunity for you to show up as like a Venthir and just get like a different epic quest, and like, you know, you just show up as a Night Fae and have them like make you grow the trees or whatever for the assault. And I don't know, I feel like this is an opportunity to actually like cement that Covenant identity in the gameplay.
Could have been, yeah. I mean, there should just be like some mega powerful ability you could
Prince
do. or
Renethal
something.
just he says the same thing regardless of what Covenant you are. He's just like, oh, you're here. That means we're gonna win. And it's like, okay, man, but like, I thought this was supposed to be a meaningful choice that mattered to how my character felt. But
They didn't have enough time.
I mean, I understand if the assaults they're innovating the assault model, of course, with the assaults number 14 through 18 of, or actually this is like the 20th assault, I think, right? Because we had the 4 minor assaults in 8.3, the 2 major assaults, The
One per zone assault in Legion.
there were the 1 per zone assaults in Legion, and there were the 1 per zone assaults in BFA as well. So that's an extra 6.
The Ventanax assault.
That was the one in Val'sharah, right? Where
it was the Broken Shore, Burning Shore. Where the fuck?
Oh yeah, okay. You're talking about the.
It was the big
Broken Shore.
spaceship thing.
Yeah.
Was that an assault?
I don't know. Probably you had to fucking farm the spaceship.
That was a different thing. There have actually been so many like assaults though, where it's like show up, do some quest, do epic finale, collect loot on some kind of rotating schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, there's been at least like 3 or 4 iterations of this, and it is kind of getting stale a little bit.
I don't hate it. It's just, I mean,
it is kind of cool that like the Maw is getting taken over by the Covenants, and you see all the areas you used to go and farm now have there's like a little outpost of Venthyr guys hanging out and building a little happy house.
Then you blast somebody that I used to know on full volume.
Is that a Covenant swap, like, betrayal meme? Okay.
Whenever I'm trying to help out the Night Fae.
Yeah. Alright, finally, the other new feature this patch is new Torghast. So the thing about new Torghast is now it has a score. Tettles is working his hardest on it so far. His best is 97 points, so he's nearly earned himself a 1-star run. He's out there.
Actually, so tragic.
How do you even get that? How do you even get less than a 1-star?
Well, I didn't kill anything. I literally only killed the end floor bosses. I accidentally pulled 1 rare, so I killed that. And then I killed the fucking end boss. And I did it in like 6 minutes. And they were like 1 star. I was like, whenever you finish a floor, you can see like the time or whatever. You can like hover over the timer. And there's a metric that's like par time for this floor. And it's like, your time, 47 seconds. Par time for this floor, 8 minutes, 3 seconds. I'm like, this is probably not going to be a bad run. This surely can't be that bad. I got 0 fucking stars.
So yeah, it turns out completion is the much more important thing to min-max than time in the new Torghast, which I actually do think that it sucks that like a good speedrun isn't at least a few stars.
It was a 6-minute upper reach. That's like a fast run.
Yeah. There's also exciting bonus points. So if you're trying to get higher score, the best way to do it is, do 100% completion if you can. Don't worry as much about time. Use your empowered button when you're about to earn a lot of points. So when stuff is about to die, you click it. When when a big pool is about to die, or you click it and like finish a quest and break a bunch of urns. All of that will get you a lot of completion bonus in the empowered bonus, which doubles the score you're getting. And there's a bunch of bonus point objectives you can do, several of which are kind of naturally easy to do at the same time. Obviously, if you're owning, you can do kill the boss under 20 seconds. That's nice bonus points if you're on some kind of Exodia build. Defeat 2 elites within 10 seconds of each other, though. Once you know about these bonus points, those are usually pretty easy to pick up on any given run. No duplicate anima powers is surprisingly difficult.
Boo.
Because you actually can't cancel out of an anima selection that has 3 duplicates for you, and because there are so few anima powers, you're pretty likely to run into that if you keep opening anima powers. So this is actually surprisingly hard to do, even if you're trying to do it, but it's worth going for, I'd say, because 15 points is a lot. Defeat floor 5 boss with at least 500 Phantasma remaining is another easy 10 points to try and do every time, I'd say. And then...
that one's actually the play for multiple reasons, because you can do that, and then you go back to the vendor and you can buy the cosmetic if you want the transmog.
Yeah, let's go.
Right after you kill the boss.
No epic anima powers, also bonus points available. Really dumb, because the epic anima powers are some of the fun ones, but easy-ish to do. Although, again, you can also get offered only epic anima powers and then be screwed out of these points because there's no cancel button. Destroying 90% of the phylacteries, opening a treasure chest, assisting a denizen of Torghast. If you can't do Highlander, then you can collect 5 Obleron armaments of the same type and get some bonus points there. Using an anima cell on the first broker you run into gets you another 5 points. Saving all of the soul remnants is actually pretty hard to do. And Trapmaster also, depending on which floor it is, can be pretty hard to do, but both are worth going for if you can. if you collect a good set of these, that can get you a long way towards the 200 points. And a lot of them kind of naturally work pretty well together once you're aware of them.
So I need to get 4. Do I need to get 4 stars this week, or is it next week that I need to get 4 stars?
So that's a good question. We don't know whether or when you need to get 4 stars. The way it worked on PTR was 4 stars is required for unlocking the next layer. That's what happened. That's what what the WoW guide says. So maybe that means you need to 4-star a layer 9 run to unlock the layer 10 next week. We don't know if this is still in the game. There's nothing in the tooltips about it right now. There wasn't on PTR either. I don't think right now there's just the time gate tooltip in place. So we'll just have to wait and see until next week if this is still in place. The other reason you care about score, though, is the Adamant Vault system, which there's that new Torghast talent tree that you find from your first run. Next week, we'll be able to purchase a row that lets us get access to the Adamant Vaults, which is after any given run where you get 5 stars, you will then get offered the chance to not leave Torghast and do even more Torghast and ascend to floors 6 and 7, which are special Adamant Vaults floors. And those can, on PTR, they gave Sakis and Conduits. So if those still give Sakis and Conduits, then that'll be us free from the Archivist Codex rep grind, and it'll just be a Torghast grind instead.
Okay, so I have a question. So for next, not for next week, but for Mythic Week, you and I are casting that afternoon block. What the fuck are you going to do the moment you get off of casting? Because we cast until like 6 Central.
Yeah.
Okay.
By then we should know what the deal is with the Adamant Vaults and everything.
Sure. Okay, yeah, that's fair. I think that I need to go try to get my Sinful Hysteria legendary, which I'm pretty sure I can't get 3 renown, but before raid. I have 2 hours to get 3.
Oh yeah.
I have 2 hours to get 3 renown, so I don't think it's happening.
Well,
speaking of renown, like you have to do the long weekly quest in Korthia, right, to get one of those 3 renown.
That quest isn't that long. If
you
do Tormentors of Torghast and a Covenant Assault, that'll get you a lot of completion towards that quest, and then you just do a bunch of dailies in the zone. Like you can probably get it done in 45 minutes.
I need a hero to get all 3 of those renown.
But it also gives you anima as well. You also will get 1,000 anima from doing all that Korthia and assault stuff, almost for sure.
Yeah,
that just pumps out anima. So then all you have to do is your Covenant quest. I think if you had an hour and a half, you could get all 3 of those renown. I don't know if you will though.
It'll be close.
It's actually big for that weekly Korthia quest. Tater in chat, one of our patrons said the old mod rares count for 5% toward that progress bar as well. So you could actually kill quite a few of those pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Usually they're all spawned because people aren't farming them anymore. Well, maybe they will now, but.
And if you're capped on souls as well, if you haven't built any buildings, returning lost souls is 500 anima.
And my third one is campaign, right? That's where the third one comes from?
Yeah, the third one will be campaign, and that'll be unlocked after you do the first 2 each week, it looks like.
So that's TBD on how long that should take. Fuck.
Yeah, we'll see. Probably won't take too long if you're, zooming.
Yeah, it'll be a close one, I think. Whether or not I'll have that legendary.
Whatever, I mean, whether or not you have it for, like, Terra Grew and stuff.
It doesn't matter.
It's
actually
day one,
matter.
right? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
If the servers come up fast enough, we could do it before we cast as well. But often the servers only come up right at the start of that second casting block.
I was about to say, dude, we've done this for how many tiers? When does it come up before that casting block?
Yeah, we'll see. It's always fun to try and juggle doing all this stuff and also casting at the same time and also like making videos or whatever.
Do we want to announce the video thing that we're doing? Or not?
Oh yeah, okay. So, well, I mean,
fuck it.
Sounds like a decision has been made.
I mean, you could say no. We could just tease it.
Well, okay, yeah. Tettles and I are planning to make like a daily Race to World First video update thing on both of our YouTube channels this tier. So we'll see how that works out. We gotta iron out all the details still, but
it's gonna be Sports Center cool. Style. We show some cool clips of the day. Have a nice thing at the bottom.
Record it on the same like location as well, like just using the same box, and it'll be nice and easy because we'll be in person.
Yep, I think we should. I think I'm gonna bring my little headset to plug into your Focusrite. I think that's probably the wave.
We'll make it work, I'm sure.
We're technologically advanced.
How do you guys feel? So okay, back to the Torghast you guys done these? How's the fun been? Have you had more or less fun in Torghast this time than last patch?
I mean, I enjoy it because you can farm it and you can actually work toward legendaries on alts that you haven't been doing Torghast on all patch long in 9.0. So like my DK needs 235 legendaries that are all at 190 currently. So I need like 13,000 soul ash to do that.
Okay.
But I did like 2K of it yesterday, and it wasn't too bad. It took me only a couple hours. I did them on like a lower layer, so a layer 6, so that you could clear faster, and you get 50 less soul ash per run. So like layer 9 gives you about 190 soul ash per run, and layer 6 gives you about 146, I think I was getting. And so it was way more efficient to do like the easier layers and just go through as fast as you can, straight to the exit over and over again. And it was pretty chill. Like I like the seeing how you did on the rating as well. Being like, oh, this run I did slightly better somehow. You know, I didn't hit that one trap. So I think there's some good changes.
Yeah, I do kind of like the score being there. I mean, I think that some of the bonus points are annoying. Like, I think that it would be better if they changed what the criteria were for earning the bonus points, and it was less about like doing things that make you weaker and more about doing things that make you stronger, right? Like, there's all these bonus points. It's like, oh, do the last boss without spending all your money. Don't pick up any of the epic anima powers. Whereas instead, I wish there were bonus points for like, you know, going for those sorts of things, right? Spend a total of certain amount of phantasma in the whole run. You know, get 3 epic anima powers on your character or whatever, and that way it's like, oh, you know, you're incentivized to do the fun things instead of being punished for it.
Or have 3 duplicates or some shit, right? 2
duplicates.
Yeah,
yeah, like Full House, you know, some kind of like thing where I don't know, or just like not incentivize things that could be annoying either way, right? Because like,
yeah, that's fair.
You know, making you pick specific anima powers for score. I don't know. I think that could work if it wasn't so frequent that you just opened an anima cell that had no valid choice for whatever bonus point criteria they picked, because there's so few total anima powers. I don't know. I do like the score thing though. I think it does make it more fun to be going for score.
I also really like the talent tree too. Like the blessings you get. Some of the blessings are really OP. Like a randomly execute a target below 40% feels pretty good.
Yeah, I had that and I was like, what is killing these things?
What did I just do?
Well, I was trying to like time my empowered bonus, and then just the elite died, and I'm like, what happened? My bonus.
My bonus.
The rampage one is really cool too. Like a huge cooldown reduction feels great. Everyone loves cooldown reduction, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah. So I do think I think the Torghast is better this patch than it was last patch, but. And I think that they're doing that by leaning less into the roguelike and leaning more into the, like, you know, fast-paced Horrific Vision style gameplay. Because this much more reminds me of Horrific Visions now, where it's like, you know, the quality of your run matters.
Yeah.
Unlike just being this binary thing where it's like, unless you do something horribly stupid or you're on an undergeared alt, or you're a rogue or whatever in 9.0, you're gonna have an easy time in this thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think good changes there. Still Torghast.
It's still Torghast, yeah. Those are my thoughts too.
All right. Shall we get to our Q&A segment?
I think we shall.
But wait, we also have an even also good segment before that, where we get to thank our supporters over on patreon.com/Titanforge. They are Paul of US Tichondrius, Concubine of US Tichondrius, Gainful. Can somebody report that name, by the way? So
please, give that name change. If you see Concubine in Ouroboros or wherever, report that ass.
Gainful employment is not fun. Ja, Dratnos' Dino Pillow, Chromed, Trekkie, Never Nude, Chewy, Dratnos, aka Drama Resurgence as Tyrande neck choking over Sylvanas. I've seen a lot of memes about that scene. I didn't actually watch that scene, of course, because I was hitting escape, enter every cutscene during the Battle for Ardenweld. But...
Yeah, you didn't watch that one?
I've seen the memes. I've seen a lot of memes about it. They're like the Rick and Morty one where it's like, you tried to choke an undead person. Think, Tyrande, think.
That's not Rick and Morty. That's from Invincible.
Oh, whatever. Same art style.
It's a great animated show, by the way. Check it out.
Okay.
Same art style.
It's cartoons, man. They're all the same. Man, there's a lot of people who are writing angry comments right now. I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. Delete believes that Venthyr DH is going to be the best for PvE this tier, so don't believe the Winter Queen's lies. It's AMZ, not AMZ. Salty Seni, Necros, Tankdil, Nevuk, Sinmora, Eevee, always one step behind. Stevenson, love the Constantinople bit. Take Light of the Protector and Frenzied Regen off the GCD. No Trick, I scheduled a Tettle's Flame. Cutting Edge Sire Dramaticus. Diemat, paint stick figures are the best way to explain raid strats. Ooh, actually, there's a really good way to explain raid strats this coming tier. There's a site that is nice for it.
Rate plan or not rate plan?
Mythictrap.com is what I'd recommend actually right now. That site has they've teamed up with like Echo, and they have really good raid guides. So go check that out.
Also
we'll probably
raid
talk
plan,
more
though.
about that next week. Next week we'll probably talk about raid bosses. So stay tuned. Lufer, Nyx, Van Heelen of US Proudmoore, Brusif, Dratnos Routes Abyss. Come back to US Proudmoore. Feel strong, man. It's so sad. M Sanity, Xena, We Are Praying Hanny will pump in 9.1. Rogue's now good enough for Prog, but still bad enough to be sat for SLG. Bless up. Red Color, Some Zero of US Tichondrius, YouTube.com/Workbringer. Morty died 3 times to mechanics this week. Ahara of US Proudmoore. KOZ's mythic team is Trash Cans and not Trash Cants. Snicker Shelby, Alphabet Soup, Druid Friends of Evolved Gaming, Buff Boomkins.
Agreed.
I must say, Trella, your
No.
voice is extra deep and silky today.
Oh, thank you.
Indeterminate Cloth DPS, and Lolari. Alright, Q&A time.
Our patrons are wild.
Yeah.
Some of these names are getting fucking wild.
Our first question comes from Mips, who asks, as Blizzard presumably starts planning 9.2 content... Wait, we answered this one last week, didn't we? Pretty sure we did.
Am I fried?
Think so.
All right, read the next one. I'll give you a yes or no on that.
Okay. Next one comes from CatGay in Discord, who says, the latest Zach Roar, that's Asmongold's like alt Twitter, tweet made me think this. What if the normal item level of every tier was above the previous mythic? So it would be more like Castle Nathria that heroic is kind of hard the first few weeks. Would that be a more enjoyable progression curve for the majority of people? So for context here, this is that tweet here. And the suggestion is to make it more of a gap, where, so like right now, normal Sanctum is 226, and the suggestion here is to make it so that, normal Sanctum is like 250 gear or whatever, and that way we're coming in more under geared relative to the content. So that would, from the perspective of this tweet, that would make the problem worse, right? That's moving in the opposite direction to what Asmongold is suggesting here, which is that there should be less, like, the things instead should be the other way around.
How do you feel about this take where normal should not exist, normal and LFR are the same thing?
I think that the current system's problems aren't really like this. The gear looking like this, and I also don't think that the problem is like normal existing. I feel like there's people who don't care about the mythic raid experience that just want it to look more like Wrath. But the more it looks like Wrath, the more we're just going to come into mythic raid with already pretty close to mythic gear, and not actually, and that I think would be a negative experience for mythic players. But deleting normal, like there are people that normal is part of their gameplay experience that I also don't think we need to. Like, I think that this isn't a problem with gear. The fact that gear, I think the current status quo for gear and the way the 4 raid difficulties work out is fine. Honestly, my biggest problem with like normal and stuff is when it incentivizes weird split stuff, like the method. Let's run. Like I think that whenever like the mythic raiders are doing something weird in normal because it's super easy, but it has some relevant reward. Like, okay, they need to look at a way to disincentivize that maybe, but. I basically think that the problems with gear not being exciting are because we have like 4 secondary stats that all are boring, or 3 of which are boring, and haste is kind of good.
How do you feel about the power?
This.
How do you feel about the power creep over the course of the expansion, over the course of even one tier potentially?
I mean, so we gain what, 26 item levels per tier?
Ish.
I think that's fine. I don't know. And within a tier, there's a 50 item level disparity between the first bosses of LFR and the last bosses of Mythic. I also think that's fine. I don't know. I think that...
How do you feel about the power disparity?
I think it's good.
fine.
I think it's I think
Okay.
it brings people back to the game, and this is obviously their end goal is to have subscribers. Like that's the money goal, but it also feels good as a player to constantly have something to progress. I think Asmongold is comparing it to like the classic experience where it's
Right.
you
So
use the same items, but you still feel like a slight power gain, I guess. But I do like the faster power gains
a
as a modern
feature
player.
a feature of classic is that like some items from tier 4 are good through tier 5 and some are even good through tier 6, and like some items from tier 5 are good through tier 6. I don't think that would be good right now. Like I don't think the way that Nax gear was good to start TBC would be. I don't think it would be good if Mythic Nyalotha gear was useful for the first few weeks of Castle Nathria Prague. Ugh.
I mean, do you remember people were complaining about the cloak? People were like, "Please God, fucking nerf the cloak. I don't have to wear it during Nathria."
Yeah, and like I think that I don't think it would be great if there were not just like a couple of trinkets from Castle Nathria that were still potentially bis, but like a bunch of items for scattered across random pieces with like random plus 40% plus 40 shadow damage or whatever. That is just like, oh, this is gonna be bis for Shadow Priest forever from Castle Nathria. So I think it is. I think that for retail it is better that the game does not work like that, and that you don't need
I think so too.
old raid gear for it to play the next tier.
I mean,
Also,
people already
it's
complained
like,
about tier sets with the 2 set, 4 set shit. You remember people were fucking whining about that shit even. You're like,
Right.
I don't want to fucking wear those.
I do think that
It's
Legion
also
tier
like-
sets, did that problem was unanticipated and bad. I do think the two set 4 set.
Do you remember in Legion having to farm Emerald Nightmare if you're like any agility class for the entire state of the
Nighthold?
expansion to get that one trinket? No, it was Ursoc trinket, I
Ursoc
think,
trinket,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, that thing was relevant for like 4 tiers. Like everyone still wanted to get a Titanforge
You want to
version of
Titanforge
that.
it,
The name of
yeah.
our show. And stuff like that is because like
Our namesake.
they want the big power gains. Yeah, that's our namesake. They want the big power gains from tier to tier to avoid things like that, I think, and I think that's a good thing. So there's always like little reasons based on history of why we have this big power spike as well, I think.
Yeah, it's weird because like one thing that people in Classic like is they like the reason to go and do old raids, and Titanforging did provide that as well, right? Like the reason there is not that the Ursoc trinket was good; it was that you could Titanforge it and it was good.
Yeah.
So like,
True. It's combo.
yeah, those two factors being in place made the old raid like kind of worth doing, but I don't know. If I'd never have to go back to Castle Nathria again for like relevant stuff, I think I'll be pretty happy about it.
Agreed. Actually, I don't know. I think
Oh.
that farming old raids, like, they had their glory, they had their time in the sun. I don't need to. I feel like if I'm playing a new character, I don't want to go fucking get attuned via the old raid or farm some bullshit, right?
I actually think the way that
You don't want to do
attunement
Stone
quests
Legion again
worked-
for
Good.
you don't want to do Stone Legion again for the rest of the expansion.
On any character I ever want to
that
play
boss is
ever.
so good.
Yeah, no. Can't say I
True.
do.
Stone Legion Heraldry Gang. Yeah, I mean they could have just made that trinket better, and we'd be in a spot where you needed to do that. It wouldn't need to be that much better to be bis this tier.
True.
The attunement quest is an interesting thing because like I did like that in Classic in TBC, like opening up your attune add-on and seeing just this like massive quest line that you're trying to do all these different parts of that sends you to like all these different dungeons. I feel like they should do more of those, but not make them like to go into the raid. Make them like to unlock green fire type stuff or some like rare mount or appearance set or something. Like I think those long quest lines that send you all over the world and back over to like random old expansions, I think those are really cool.
I agree.
All right. Any more Q&A?
I didn't see any.
All right. Well, that's good enough for me then. We will be back next week with our final Saturday episode, and then we will be
Until we have to move it to Saturday.
We'll be
For
on
some
Race to World
reason.
first, and then we'll depending on how things go. I don't know when the next show will be after that. We might do like a snap show as soon as the Race to World first ends, if depending on if we can get guests to talk about it and stuff, depending on who wins and everything like that. So we'll see.
No.
Yeah. But that's it for now.
Exciting though. Next week's gonna have a lot of good shit.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.